My name's Lisa, I'm 20 years old, and I am making this video to talk about chronic Lyme disease. And yeah, sorry, this is the first time I've ever made any kind of video or anything like that, so this might be a little weird. I feel that chronic Lyme is something that is very misunderstood and really needs to be brought into the open. I was diagnosed with it at 17. So I'm 20 now, so that's 3 years of knowing it. But I've been told that I probably had it since I was 10 or younger. And it all really started, like I start remembering what are probably symptoms of it from about 12. I would get dizzy spells, like really dizzy spells. Like I would be standing there just perfectly normally, and all of a sudden I just feel like the world was just spinning around me. Like like I was on a carousel or something. The world was just going round and round and round. And I talked to my parents about it, and because I was 12 and I just started my period, they thought, okay, well, maybe it's iron deficiency. Because it is something that's very common, and also my grandmother was anemic. So that kind of made sense. And it didn't help. And then another thing that I remember from actually before 12 is I would get nauseous. Like just randomly. I would just get really nauseous. And I didn't tell my parents about that because I thought that was normal. I was a little kid. I didn't know any better. It's like, oh, I get nauseous? Everybody must get nauseous. It's a normal thing. Which obviously it's not, as I have later learned. It's not normal to get nauseous all the time, to be nauseous 50% of the day. That's not normal. And when I was 16, well, all this stuff just continued, and I just lived with it. And then when I was 16, I was attending a community college, thanks to the Post-Secondary Education Opportunities Program. I was finishing up my last 2 years of high school, and during my first 2 years of college, so I'd graduate with a high school diploma and an AA degree. Wonderful program. Anyway, I did my first semester of that, and everything was fine. And then about a month into my second semester, after I just turned 17, things started to get really weird. I was nauseous more. I was dizzy more. There were times when I felt like I wasn't even connected to my body. My head was just out there. And when I was driving, I felt like my head was on top of the roof of the car. And things were just really weird. And sorry, I say "and" a lot. And god damn it. Yeah, so I was nauseous a lot. Like I had to stop eating, basically. And foods that I loved, and all the stuff that I loved to eat, and like my favorite foods, made me suddenly just like made me feel like I wanted to throw up. And so of course my mother's first thing when I complained about it was, "Are you pregnant?" It's like, no, I'm not pregnant. That much I know. And then it started to get even worse. I was tired all the time. Like, all the time. I would go upstairs from my bedroom. One story. I would climb up the stairs and I'd have to go lay down on the couch. I was that tired from climbing the stairs. And it's not like I was overweight or anything. I was in great shape. I had been doing karate since I was 10. Just got my first degree black belt. So I was in good shape. I shouldn't have gotten that tired that quickly. And then I started getting pains. I had pains in my joints, my fingers. my elbows, my knees, and that was quite horrible because I later learned that I was developing arthritis. And then came the brain fog. And that, I'd have to say, the brain fog and the memory loss were the worst. I just went through the whole day in a haze. It was like, there was, I don't know how to describe it, really. It's like, if you're wading through molasses, it's like that, only in your head. It's like you can't think. Everything takes extra time. And as a student, and with good grades, that's really hard. I remember I would be sitting there on the couch, and I couldn't read, I couldn't focus on the words anymore. So my mom was sitting there reading my geology book to me. And she'd read through a page, and then she'd turn to me and say, "Okay, so what did that tell us?" And I'd look at her and I said, "I don't know. I don't know." I had not gotten any of it. And my mom had to type my papers for me because my fingers hurt too much to type. The weight just dropped off me. The memory loss was bad too. It was really bad. Again, really hard when you're in school. I would show up at classes, and the teacher would say, "Okay, it's time to hand in whatever project that you had," and I would have no clue what they were talking about. I would have no clue that there was a project, and I tried writing it down because everybody was like, "Oh, just write it down. Just write it down. That's how everybody remembers stuff. Everybody forgets stuff." It's like, no, you don't forget stuff like this. You don't forget your best friend's name. It was really hard. And, after a while, my parents just said, this is something that's really bad, and we have to figure out what's wrong. After, going through the inevitable, "Oh, it's just in your head, you're just overreacting, you're stressed, it's normal." Yeah. After all this stuff happened, and I started to I was sick. I was physically sick. Okay, then we have to figure it out, what it is that was making me sick. And so we went to the family doctor that we'd always gone to, and he ran a bunch of different tests and checked my blood and all this different stuff, and everything came back negative. And so finally, his response was that I was crazy, I was making it all up, either that or anxiety. So he was going to put me on, anti-anxiety meds. And that's just where, we threw up our hands and said, "No way." And my mother was doing research online, a lot of it, and she came across chronic Lyme disease. And we went through the list of symptoms, and just like, "Oh yeah, I have a ton of these." And so she asked the doctor if he could run a test for Lyme disease. He said, "Well, yes, he could, but there's no way I had it." And she said, "Well, run it anyway." And Nick comes back, and he says, "Well, she has the antibodies for Lyme's, but there's no such thing as chronic Lyme disease. There's no such thing." Well, first of all, I never had acute Lyme disease. I never got the bullseye. I never had, big fever or anything like that. I never had acute Lyme disease. So really? Obviously something happened. And but yeah, he said it doesn't exist, and some people just live with undiagnosed symptoms. Well, that was a pisser, because first of all, I couldn't live with these symptoms. I wasn't eating. I couldn't remember things. I had no clue what the hell was going on in my own life. That's where the doctors try to help you. They don't say, oh, well, you'll just live with it. And so my mother, being my mother, did not give up. She found a doctor that was about an hour and a half south of us, and said, basically, you know, we're taking you here. And so she called them and said, you know, da-da-da-da-da, my daughter needs to see him, and they said, oh, well, she'll have to wait a few months. And my mother explained the symptoms, and they said, oh, we'll fit her in this week. That's how bad my symptoms were, that they put me in right away. No waiting list. And sure enough, he diagnosed me with Lyme's disease, chronic Lyme's disease. And there's a whole bunch of different medical AMA crap that goes on with this that I'm not going to get into right now. Maybe in another video, if I do one. But it was so hard because then he told me how it was treated. And there were these antibiotics, and him explaining all these antibiotics I had to take, and the probiotics I had to take with them so that they basically wouldn't kill my system. It was really scary. And so, you know, we asked how it was going to affect school, and he said, you may not be able to continue with school. It's going to get worse before it gets better. And that was so horrible, because not only would I was having trouble with school, but I was also having trouble with karate. And karate is my passion. It's what I live for. And knowing that I would have had to give that up, that it would basically just be taken from me, was horrible. And so we got a prescription for antibiotics, and I took them one day before my parents said, wait, these are really dangerous medications. That can make you completely immune to other antibiotics in the future if you at any point are able to get off them. That's another thing the doctor said. I could be on antibiotics for the rest of my life. That's scary. You know, they really screw you up. They screw up your system. They kill all the bacteria, not just bad ones. And you need bacteria to live. And so they said that my mother started doing research into alternative medicine. She's that kind of person. I always thought it was a huge hoax. I just wanted to do the antibiotics. As horrible as they sounded, I didn't believe in any kind of alternative medicines at all. And so when my mother came to me and said I found a homeopathic doctor who is willing to see you and specializes in chronic Lyme's, then I was just like, okay, if it'll make you happy. My line of thinking here was, if I try it and it doesn't work, I won't have to try it again, because obviously it won't work. But then she'll get it out of the way and I can get onto the antibiotics, because I do not believe in it at all. It's like, it's a huge hoax, it's a bunch of crap. And so we went and saw him, and he did this really weird thing. I have no clue, I still have no clue how homeopathy works. Um, and sorry, I'm at a complete loss for words right now. You know what? I should probably stop this video right now because there's just 15 minutes. I'll make part 2. So, yeah. See you in part 2.